this is how I'm going to talk on the podcast. I'm probably going to lean forward a little bit like this, potentially talk like this. I hope I'm talking into the mic. Brenna, do you think I'm talking into the mic?
What, Brenna? Why are you nervous?
I don't know who's going to hear this.
Just pretend like it's the three of us in a bathroom.
I know that it's not. All right, let's do this.
Welcome to the Project Proposed podcast. I'm Dustin.
I'm Mike, and Dustin, we are joined by the most special guest.
By my fiance.
Ah!
Oh, and there she is.
She's entered with a thunderous entrance. We have Miss Brenna. Brenna, welcome to the Project Proposed podcast.
Thank you.
We're happy to have you.
I'm nervous to be here.
We've been doing this behind your back for such a long time. It's nice to sit next to you.
Right, it's great to do this in front of your back.
Are you happy right now?
Yeah, why wouldn't I be happy?
Well, I don't know. This is your thing. Well, it's our thing, but this has been like your project, and now I'm coming into it.
It's always been our project. You
right,
just
but
didn't
I
know
just
it.
didn't know it. But now
Right.
I'm here. So are
Right,
you
so now I'm
happier?
super happy.
But we're missing Nick.
We are missing Nick.
Yeah.
Aw.
Nick.
Well, before we get too into it,
Yes,
I want to remind the people.
I'm already into it.
Oh gosh.
I'm too into it.
I want to remind the people to go to YouTube to watch the proposal. It is live as of today, October 27th. So the link is in the description of the podcast.
Also on our social media pages. Again, you can find us at our website. You can find us on Instagram.
Yep.
That's it. That's our social media.
Yeah, so make sure you watch that before you listen to this. I guess let's talk about the journey that we've been on.
We've been on this Project Proposed journey for about 7 months now.
Yeah, since February.
Yeah.
I went out with Nick and Mike, and I was like, so I'm kind of thinking about doing a scavenger hunt, but I'm not sure if that's like too crazy. And they were like, no, do it. So I
knew that I was going to be involved in some capacity, but I knew, like, for the most part. I also had no idea just the lengths that Dustin was going to go with the actual scavenger hunt. When he said scavenger hunt, I was just like, cool, we're going to hide some stuff in their apartment. And I was just like, yeah, all right, cool. I'll, like, hide a cookie under a pillow. And then he's just like, yeah, we're going to Lake George. I was like, oh. Well, all right.
Yeah, I guess it was a little bit more work than we all thought.
In a wonderful way. It was a great proposal, but...
Thank you.
It was just like I was pleasantly surprised by like how all out and how much effort you wanted to put in, and pleasantly surprised that we got to do this thing out of it. So that was pretty fun.
Well, I guess there's several layers to that. One being after 9 years, Brenna absolutely deserves it.
She does.
That was so nice, Bubba.
Thank you. Please don't call me Bubba on air.
I'm going to steal your phrase from your grandfather from Brenna's congrats video. Brenna is a dynamite gal. Which I have now used. Gal. I love that phrase so much and have now used it to describe several people.
Another layer of doing all of this is documenting the whole thing, because the proposal was just a moment, and I want something that we could show our kids and we could look back on, and that's why doing the podcast and the video I thought was a must.
Definitely. And I think it was really such a story, just like, I think that's something that often gets neglected in situations like this, is just, you know, people get to see pictures from the day, people get to see sometimes some videos, there's always like people's firsthand accounts, but there's very few occasions where somebody has a major moment in their life like this, and you get to go back and hear the entire planning process that went into it, the entire story behind not just the day, but everything that went into the day and everything after that. I think this was a really exciting, kind of unique thing. And
right.
Like you said, no one deserves it more than Brenna.
Aww,
that's
you
right.
Guys.
So Brenna, when we were recording the podcast this whole time, we kept kicking you out of the apartment. Did you think that we were recording a podcast?
Yeah. I mean, it's you guys. You guys do a lot of nonsense, and I just go along with it. I'm here for the ride.
That is the best description of my life that I've ever heard. Yeah, you guys do a lot of nonsense. I just go along with it. That's most people in my life. Dustin would just say to Brenna, oh, Mike and I are recording a podcast, and she would ask, what's the podcast? And Dustin was just like, I don't know. We're figuring it out.
Yeah, I was like, we're doing like test recordings, and we're seeing like what ideas are more sustainable than others. And it was really funny because Brenna would try to help us come up with ideas that we didn't need.
What was your favorite test idea for a podcast that we didn't use?
The best thing that I thought for you guys, I just wanted you guys to talk about what you like to talk about. So whether it be credit cards, Dyson vacuums, Marvel movies, like whatever floats your... I just think people would find it interesting to hear like what you found interesting. Just because
that's what we're doing. I find you interesting.
You like a lot of really obscure things.
I think a lot of people would subscribe to a podcast about the history of gummy bears, but that's just me.
One of my favorite ideas that we came up with was Pillow Talk, where Mike and I would lay in bed and just talk about things as we were trying to fall asleep.
Which is actually how we recorded episode 3.
And it was also weird to lay down in the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a lot of leg room in the tub.
For the record, we're in the kitchen. I don't get the bit about the bathroom.
Oh my God. Brenna, we are 7 episodes deep. Do not ruin this for us.
This is why we never invited you on before.
If someone had explained it to me, then I would have been able to back you guys up. But we're in the kitchen.
What you just said 5 minutes ago, you said you guys do a lot of nonsense and I go along with it. Why are you not?
For the most part. You need someone to bring it back down to earth every once in a while.
Never.
Bring it back down to the kitchen.
Let me float in the clouds.
Let me float in my tub.
Let me float.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes, there have been a lot of layers to the process behind this proposal, and I'm glad that I got to be part of it. It has been a heck of a ride.
It really has.
Yeah.
And that ride started for Brenna when she saw the video of me with instructions in the hotel room. And
yeah.
I was gone, I was missing.
And it's funny, so that is the one part of the day, I would say, the one major part that we have no footage of. So Brenna, walk us through that moment when you walked into the hotel room and you expected Dustin to be there waiting for you and he wasn't there. What was going through your head?
So I knocked on the door of the hotel room because I was too lazy to find my key in my bag. And when Dustin didn't answer, I was like, oh, it's fine. He's probably in the shower. I'll let myself in. So I unlock the door and I realize it's totally pitch black. And then I start calling out, Dustin, where are you? And there's no answer. And then I start yelling because I'm like, I swear to God, if you jump out at me, I'm going to be so mad. And
that was your first thought, is he's hiding, trying to terrify me.
Look, I'll be fair. I've done it before.
It wasn't like a far-fetched thing. But anyway... Then I noticed that a chair was placed in the room in the middle of the floor.
In the center of the room. Like, you can't miss it.
I missed it. So my first thought when I saw the chair, to be very honest, was like, oh my God, I hope there wasn't a murder or like a fight or something in the hotel room because the furniture's misplaced and I don't know. I just got nervous. And then I looked down and I saw the tablet and I saw the typed out note, very nicely typed, watch the video. And the second I saw that, I knew I was getting engaged. I didn't know the scale. I didn't know the scope. I didn't know how, where, when. I just knew it was happening today.
And were you excited or nervous?
Remember. I think I blacked out the first couple of seconds.
When she passed out and then woke up, she got off the floor.
I was freaking out because I had just gotten back from a massage, so I was not looking so pretty because my hair was all messed up.
You're always beautiful.
Thank you.
She was very relaxed, though.
Well, that's the thing.
We ruined that. Yeah, we ruined that.
Dustin just defeated the entire purpose of you getting a massage.
As soon as I read watch the video, everything the masseuse did was undone. So then I paced around the room, and based on what the video said, I put my phone away. And I listened. I didn't want to break any of the rules because I honestly didn't know if Dustin had cameras in the room. I wouldn't have been shocked if he had hid something.
I was thinking about it.
So I just started kind of like hyperventilating, and then it dawned on me that I only had about 2 hours to get ready, which seemed like a really short amount of time in like the split second I found out what was going on. But after the fact, I learned 2 hours is a very long time.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it was such a long time because not only did Brenna need time to get ready, but while all that was happening, Dustin, Nick, me, and their friends Corey and Samara were holed up in another room, the next hallway over. Corey and Samara were just hanging out, but like Nick was getting the camera ready.
Yeah, that was our home base.
Dustin was coordinating all the plans. I was getting ready to go out with Dustin. So like we were... Basically, it was so that we could like freely roam around the hotel and do what we needed to do without worrying that we were just going to bump into Brenna in the hallway.
And giving you enough time to change your outfit, 12 times.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't even change once. In hindsight, I totally freaking should have, but I was just out of my mind. I wasn't really thinking straight. So the first thing I did was walk into the bathroom, and I saw someone had laid out nail polish for me, polish remover. I didn't know if it was you or Samara. I don't know who you had. So
I gotta say, I was impressed that you did that.
Well, I had to, because every weekend, Brenna's like, am I getting engaged? My nails aren't done. I can't be getting engaged. I need my nails done.
Yeah, every weekend. So I did my nails, I put on makeup, and then I redid my nails because I messed them up putting on my makeup.
Were you shaking?
Yep. And then I got ready in like 15 minutes. It was stupid fast. And then I had an hour and 45 minutes to just like think, which was torture. So I ordered room service. I got coffee. And then I had coincidentally like brought a journal with me. And so I wrote in the journal like literally one word in a sentence, like getting engaged, don't know when, can't breathe, gotta go.
Well, yeah, she
told your journal, I gotta go.
I read the journal post. It's literally listing off facts. She's not describing like how she's feeling and like what's going on in her head. It's just like sky blue,
hair wet,
coffee, brown, 2 sugars.
But what I do want to ask is, in the video, I say that I'm going to meet you in the lobby at 12. Did you think you were meeting me in the lobby, or did you think,
I didn't know. I was ready for anything. I thought there was a possibility that like I would get into the lobby and that was it. That's what was happening. You were just going to be there and you were going to propose in front of all the lobby people. So I left the room at 11:57 and I walked down the hall and my heart's racing so fast. I don't know what I'm going to see. And I'm looking around the lobby and I'm not seeing anything really out of place. And I'm like walking around, looking up, looking down, trying to see if I could see someone, something. And then all of a sudden, someone catches my eye and I'm like, oh man, that fellow looks remarkably like Nick. But he had such a big beard, I wasn't 1,000% sure.
He was in disguise.
And I think the second I saw him, I started crying so hard. And it wasn't like a normal cry. It was like I was shaking also because I was just nervous, excited, like didn't know what the day had in store for me. So I was shaking and crying. So like my voice probably sounds terrible in the video.
Don't worry about it.
I won't.
You're perfect.
You're so nice to me. We should do podcasts more often.
So Nick shuttles Brenna out of the hotel. In the meantime, is we go to check in for the site on the island where Dustin is eventually going to propose.
Which is right down the street from the hotel is the check-in spot.
Yes. And we get there, and they're just like, why are you here? You have to check in on an island. And I just,
in the middle of the lake, because it's an island.
And there's no shuttle, there's no ferry. It's like, if you don't have a boat to take you to the island, you don't go to the island. Dustin and I look at each other. Dustin is very calm and cool and collected with the whole thing. He's like, all right, we'll go to the island later. Well, we won't go.
Right. I mean, worst case scenario, we never check in, and we're only at the island for 3 hours, and that is what it is.
We go unnoticed.
But we had our beloved Captain Gary with us to save the day.
Bless his heart.
So he was more than happy to take us on a little detour to Glen Island, which was a very cool island.
It was basically like a park on an island, because all that was there was the ranger station for all the other little islands. It was very funny when we went to check into the island. The woman at the check-in desk was very confused. So Dustin was like, yeah, we're checking in for an overnight at the campsite, but we're not actually staying overnight. We're only going to be there for a few hours. And she was just like, so you have one night, but you're not staying for the night? And I said, he's going there to propose. And she glowed. She was just like, oh, what? That's so wonderful. Like,
you made my day.
So Nick takes Brenna on her journey to breakfast, as you've seen in the video. After we tried to check into the island, Dustin drove to a nearby hotel. Dustin went in and sat in the lobby and just like hung out there.
That was my new home base.
Yeah. And I walked over to the arcade. And I get into the arcade, and then out of the corner of my eye, I spotted a photo booth, and I was just like, bingo. So I waited long enough that it was weird if you had been watching me, like, for the amount of time that I sat in the photo booth. But it wasn't, like, unthinkable. Like, maybe I, like, did a couple strips of photos by myself.
as one does.
Yeah, like sometimes you just go to the arcade by yourself at 12:30 in the middle of the afternoon and you take pictures of yourself. That's what you do.
I mean, it's called a selfie, right?
So Brenna and I had fun in the arcade. We won some Laffy Taffies, one of which I just ate about 20 minutes ago.
It was delicious.
It was great. Green apple got stuck to the package.
What did you learn?
Oh, they still put the jokes on the package.
But what did you learn about the jokes?
The jokes are
the
bad.
best practice.
You read the jokes before you open the taffy because you never know how sticky it's going to be.
And that, my friends, is free advice.
Yeah, you didn't even have to pay for that. Podcasts are free. Now I'm curious. So what was it like for you? Like the schedule management of the whole thing. Like was Nick? Did it flow pretty naturally, or was Nick constantly like, all right, like time's wrapping up?
If anything, it was the opposite. If anything, I was like, okay, I'm here. What am I doing next? Because I hadn't seen Dustin yet, and I wanted to know how the whole day was going to end. But I also was trying to be really cognizant of the fact that this should hopefully be the only proposal that I get. And I want to know at the end of the day that I didn't rush it. I was exactly where I needed to be. I was present in the moment, and I was just like soaking in every moment that I possibly could. It was a weird feeling because I wanted to get to Dustin so badly, but I also wanted the day to last forever.
You also physically couldn't rush it. Even if you were done with your family, Nick was not going to take you anywhere.
No, he wouldn't. And so then my mom, dad, brother, and I looked at wooden sculptures and made small talk about the weather. And then I was like, can we go?
That's family, am I right?
Once you started to get towards the end of it, was there a sense that you were starting to get towards the end of it, or did it have the feeling of, all right, now this is just going to keep going?
So it's interesting because I don't know that Alex and my sister and Samara knew that I was going to Dustin straight from them. I don't believe they did. But at that stop, my sister, as sisters so nicely tend to put it, told me that I looked horrible and that I needed to do something about it. So she and Alex went into their cars and pulled out these massive suitcases full of makeup. So I felt like because they were getting me ready in that moment, I was nearing the end of the day because I thought that they had known that Dustin was the next step or something.
After that, after you got your makeup done, you were in fact headed to the proposal.
Yes.
What I really, I've been wondering this for a while, what were your thoughts when Nick pulled up to this just unlabeled marina? And took you towards a boat.
The card said I'm on a boat, come find me, basically. It's essentially what the clue I got
And it was
said.
just referencing a Lonely Island song.
Well, I in that moment thought, okay, Dustin's proposing to me on a boat. We're going to take a cruise in the middle of the lake, and he'll be on the boat waiting for me. And so when I walk up to the boat, and it's not a dinner boat, it's Gary in his boat without walls, so I can easily see Dustin's not there. I was like, oh, the plot thickens. I didn't expect this.
Keeping you on your toes.
Yep. So then the boat starts chartering us off, and Nick and I are futzing with an umbrella and a banana and a water bottle. There's a lot going on. And he all of a sudden gets a phone call, and I don't know who it's from at this point in time because I don't know who's on the island or where I'm even going. And Nick answers the phone talk to me, Mama. And I was who is Mama?
That's a great point. We had code names.
We did.
So I was Papa Bear, Mike was Mama Bear, Nick was Baby Bear. One, because...
It was the only bear left.
Well, it was the only bear left, and Baby Driver, he was driving Brenna around all day.
Yeah.
And then Brenna, of course, was Goldilocks.
It made the texting situation a lot easier because it would be Mama's in position. and Nick, when he picked up Brenna, was I have acquired locks.
So that was a little gem on the boat ride there. I think I knew at that point that we had to be going to where Dustin was, and this was going to be over soon because it was getting late. It was starting to get dark. I knew if we were out in the middle of the water, we would have to come back in some sunlight, at least a little.
I don't know. I doubt this got picked up on the camera, but on the envelopes for the clues, each one had a word on it, and it said, "Love is out there. Find it." It's the end of the sentence.
Or it could have been "Find it today."
You're right, Brenna.
Find it.
Now.
Jerk.
And then we pulled up to the island, and I'm looking around, and I'm trying to see if I could see anything, and then all of a sudden I see the most warm and welcoming face Mike comes onto the dock.
The dock went directly into this pathway, and the pathway went directly towards the little stage you had set.
I still managed to mess that up.
So
you were excited.
We put out lanterns in these white paper bags that guided Brenna to the stage, and Brenna just ignores the lanterns and starts walking the other direction.
I was excited. I wanted to see ya. I missed ya. Then the magic happened.
So I wrote a speech for this, which I wasn't planning on having a speech. I was like, you know what? I'm planning this whole day. I don't need to worry about a speech. Mm-hmm. But then I couldn't fall asleep one night, and I was looking at Brenna, and a speech just came to me. I was like, well, now I have one. And it was crazy too, because after I wrote it down on my phone, and after I wrote it, I already had it memorized, because it was just so honest and genuine. But I was nervous that I would forget it. So when Brenna was out of the apartment, I recorded myself saying the speech, and then I put it on my phone, and I listened to it on repeat when I was commuting to work the entire week before the proposal, just to make sure it was in my head.
The whole time that we talked about the proposal, and that I heard you talk about the proposal to other people, you weren't you had a very straight face, game face about the whole situation. You weren't nervous. Even when I asked you that morning, I was like, "You nervous?"
Yeah.
No, I'm not nervous. I'm excited.
I was less nervous than I thought I would be, honestly.
Yeah, I'm surprised to hear you say that, because it was when we were on that island and I saw you standing up there, I was like, I've never seen Dustin nervous like this. He was actually nervous. He was
You were shaking, and then I asked you why you were shaking, and you told me it was me, but I don't shake.
I don't shake.
Yes, you do. I thought you shake.
You were shaking a little bit, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Playing so cool over there.
Mr. Cool.
It was just me. What did you think I was going to say? No?
Yeah, who knows? Give you a whole scavenger hunt, and then
no thanks, bye.
Well, it's funny because I had, obviously I spoke to people at work and stuff who didn't know you guys, and I gave a little taste of just all the stuff that Dustin did for the proposal, and just what the whole day was gonna look like. And several people said to me, wow, I really hope she says yes. I was like, Brenna's been planning this wedding since she was 4 years old. It's
it's not really a question. It's a rhetorical question.
This is just a formality. Before the actual proposal, but when you were walking down and cut through the lanterns, what was your thought when you saw me standing on the stage?
I thought, oh my God, I'm on The Bachelor. It was set up just like The Bachelor when they proposed in the last episode.
We should have gotten Chris Harrison to be there.
The best thing that you probably did not catch on the video was that there was the smell of a fireplace in the air, and that is my favorite smell in the world, and it just made it perfect.
And I did not plan that. I didn't set anything on fire that day, except for your soul.
Oh God.
So,
okay.
Anyway, now that we went through the whole day, what was your best moment or moments?
I have two moments that stick out. I mean, of course, all of them, every stop that I went to, every person that was there, whether it be my family, your family, all of our friends, I loved every single stop. And the fact that just everyone came up and made an effort and wanted to be there was such a beautiful thing. And I've never felt so loved or lucky in my life. But the two highlights that just stand out to me as being cherries on top of an already perfect day were go-karting. It was just pure fun. Just the wind was in our hair. We were laughing. Alex and I were neck and neck the whole time. I kept beating her out because I would take the turns really tight and cut her off.
It's all about taking the tight turns.
It is. I learned that, and I didn't press the brake once.
So you won the race. How many races were there?
No, so there was only one race. I lost. I came in third place because the man was
What happened to tight turns?
Well, the man all of a sudden was all right, time to roll in. And then Alex doesn't she's not slowing down. She's taking this to the end and blows right past me as I start to slow down to pull in. And then Chloe, I guess, was not far behind her and then also beats me in. So I would have been first, but I just like to follow the rules. It was such pure fun, and I don't want to cry, but just looking over and seeing, I'm gonna cry.
That's okay.
Just looking over and seeing my sister and my best friends smiling and having fun with me was so nice. I need a minute before I talk about the next one. Talk about something different.
The weather, it's happening, huh?
Well, apparently it's raining.
My
on
second
Brenna's
favorite
face.
part, My second favorite part of the day, well, after Dustin proposing, of course, that was number one, but the boat ride back from the proposal. Every time I think about it, I cry. It was just perfect. Like, it was me, Dustin, our two best friends in the world, on the boat. The sky was like the perfect color. We were
like
all
an awesome
so happy.
pink.
And like Gary was so nice. We were just having like fun, and everyone was just so happy.
The waves were hitting us.
I got hit by a tidal wave.
Yeah, Brenna got soaked. It was funny.
The lake wanted to give you a hug to
I
congratulate
guess
you.
so.
It's like Moana, like when the wave comes to life.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just that, I think about that and it just makes me so happy. Just all four of us on the boat just so happy.
Yeah.
And the sky was like the sickest color I've ever seen. It was just awesome.
With that said, you've said in the past that your brother's bar mitzvah
Don't put me on the spot like that.
was your favorite day of all time. By any chance, does your proposal day top it?
Dylan's bar mitzvah was just fun. It was a great time. This was like an emotional roller coaster through the whole day. It was so emotion filled. Dylan's bar mitzvah was like mindless fun. Like we just like danced. This was like, oh my god, all these people like moved mountains for me, and I feel so special and so lucky. And like Dustin meticulously planned everything out, and he's incredible, and I can't believe that like his mind was able to even get to this spot where he could pull it all together, because I would have forgotten something. You didn't. You thought of everything. So there were two very different days.
I totally understand, but what was your favorite day?
The proposal.
That's all I wanted to hear. It is an amazing feeling that I have the power to give someone, whether it be their favorite day or second favorite day, because like I'm guesstimating here, if Brenna's been alive for roughly 8,724 days, the fact that I'm able to make one out of that 8,724 her favorite is like a crazy feeling.
That's how much he loves you. He did math.
Guesstimated. Hey Mike,
Hey, Dustin.
I just got a great deal on Zola.
Zola, what's that? A candy bar?
No, it's much better than a candy bar. It's a wedding registry service.
Wow, that is better than a candy bar.
And if you click our link in the description below, you can get $50 towards your registry.
That's awesome. I'm going to sign up right now, and I'm not even planning a wedding.
That's the spirit. I mean, Brenna signed up way before she even met me.
Zola, more like voila, because it's like magic. Brenna, now that you are going to be marrying Dustin, are you going to become Brenna Alper? You keeping Ferney? Like, what are we doing?
That's an interesting question. Had you asked me 5 years ago, I would have been like, I've already been practicing Brenna Alper in my notebook. Like, of course I'm going to be Brenna Alper. But I don't want to change my last name. I'm Brenna Ferney. That's who I've been my whole life. And I think it's weird to one day just not be that anymore.
I totally get that. It's gotta be a really hard kind of transition. Like, and just thinking of it logistically,
it's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
Will that be my decision forever? Probably not. I would imagine once I have kids and like have to sign them out of school or whatever the case may be, I may want to change my last name so we're all under one name.
I don't think that's a reason to change your name so I could sign my kids out of school.
I don't know.
So that they don't look at me weird in the principal's office.
But I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm never going to be Brenna Alper, but I think I'll just always be Brenna Ferney.
See, I think Brenna should absolutely change her last name. Not to Alper, but to Ferney. Brenna Ferney, it's fine. It's rustic even. Brenna Ferney, now that's class. That's someone who I want to get to know better.
It's like the people that pronounce Target Target.
Right, Brenna Ferney.
Like, good rhymes.
I'm telling, if you're gonna change your name, change it to Brenna Ferney.
Well, I'm gonna flip this question on you because I'm curious. Dustin, would you ever tack on Brenna's last name and both of you could go by Alper Ferney? Would you do that?
Ferney? No. Ferney? Yeah.
Alper Ferney? You would do it?
Alper Ferney? Absolutely.
I think we've like achieved some common ground here. I think I'm sitting here with the future Mr. and Mrs. Brenna and Dustin Alper Ferney.
That's a dope name.
I want to make it clear, I also, if someone calls me like Mrs. Alper, Mr. and Mrs. Alper, I'm not ever going to be offended. I love that. I think it's the cutest thing ever. Like, I guess in theory I am Mrs. Alper once we get married, but professionally, on paper, to myself, I think I'm always going to be Brenna Ferney, you know?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Wouldn't it be weird if all of a sudden you had a different last name?
Not if it was Ferney. So, Brenna, you've only heard the first episode of the podcast so far, because that's the only episode that's been released as of this recording. What do you think of Project Propose?
The first episode, I didn't expect it to be kind of the backstory, and I really loved it because I got to hear your version of the backstory of us, because we talk a lot about everything, you and we talk in depth a lot about everything, but we've been together for so long that our origin story is kind of like, we know that already. We talk about different things. So it was just nice to hear it again from your perspective, especially after we've had all this time to like reflect on our relationship together. It was also really enjoyable to hear about like Nick and Mike and how they view their own relationships and why they think things haven't necessarily worked in the past or why things will work in the future.
You've now piqued my interest. Would you tell our origin story differently?
No, for the most part, I would not. Some things that were your takeaways of like big moments weren't necessarily my big moments, and things that were bigger for me, you didn't touch on.
So what were those things?
For example, when you sent me like my 16th birthday basket, that was like a huge pivotal point, I thought, where I was like, all right, we're doing public displays of affection now. I guess this is like kicking it up a notch, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Or when I came over once Beth had Jordan. I came over shortly after she had him, and I was like, oh, so we're like meeting families now. So you I guess, focused on our relationship internally, whereas I would have also added, like, there were milestones with external parts.
That's interesting, because I don't think of those at all.
It is interesting. That's
Yeah.
why we work so well.
Were there some big ones that Dustin said were major for him that you were just like, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal for me?
Well, I guess, yeah, when he was like, I was thinking about camp.
Well, right, you weren't. That
I
was just
wasn't
my
in your
perspective.
noggin.
But then, so when did you fall in love with me?
I don't know when I started liking you, but the moment that I started really being like, there's a future here is, we were just talking one night. I happened to be in Vermont, in Quechee, sleeping in the bear room.
The bear room? What's the bear room?
The bear room is a room in my grandparents' Quechee house that has a bunch of bears in it, and it's a guest room, and we just call it the bear room.
Are they real bears, or?
It must be
Stuffed
hard
bears.
It must be hard to talk on the phone with a bunch of live bears around.
They're stuffed bears.
Stuffed
They're
animal
fake.
bears.
They're stuffed animals. But
Okay.
I thought they were like hunted bears that
No.
were stuffed. Okay.
no, they're they're teddy bears.
That's adorable. Anyways, you were in the bear room.
I was in the bear room, and I was talking to Dustin. We were video chatting together. There was nothing that he said that made me feel this way, and nothing that we were talking about, but I just all of a sudden was like, this is home. This is right, and why aren't we dating?
See, I remember that a little differently. You were going to Vermont and there was like some sort of storm, and I texted you like, let me know when you get there, just to make sure you were safe. Do you remember that?
No. Maybe that's why I felt like you were home. That's what I'm not remembering.
You used to tell me that was the moment or one of the moments you fell in love with me. The other moment was when you were sick in camp. And
that was the best. I almost died at camp.
you didn't die.
I didn't. I almost
Okay.
died. I had 106 fever, and we didn't know why, and I was rushed to the hospital. Long story short, the next day, I'm like in the infirmary, bedridden, and Dustin had made me a card that was pink, and he put glue on it in
There
the
was a
shape
lot of
of
glitter.
Get Well Soon with purple glitter everywhere. I still have it. It's in a special box that I have at home where I keep all of my like most precious things ever. And he made me the sweetest Get Well Soon card before we were even dating, and I was just like, wow, he cares about me.
Wow, if I come out of this thing alive, maybe we have a future together.
Exactly.
And you did.
And we did.
How about that?
Spoiler alert.
In addition to the whole story behind you guys and behind the proposal, we've talked about questions related to love. So, My first question would be just, Dustin, for you. Over the time that we've been recording this podcast together, have you been surprised by any thoughts that you've had about love? Is there anything that you've learned about love through this experience of doing the podcast and planning the proposal that you may have not known about yourself before or may have not thought about?
Something that I've known, but I've learned more in depth, is that there are a lot of different paths to get there, especially hearing your story, where Brenna and I, we were friends for 2 years before we started dating, and I was a firm believer that like you really need to know the person before you could really date, while who you're dating currently, you did know decently beforehand. You didn't know her nearly as well as Brenna and I, and clearly it still has been working out.
It's the weird part about like listening back to the podcast for me now, because obviously now we're going back, and the first couple episodes that we recorded are coming out, and it was right, and I realized I'm like, wow, directly over the course of the time that we recorded this podcast, I fell in love. And it's like the way that I would approach that question is so different now, because everything's changed for me.
Right. Yeah.
Love is a beautiful thing, and it just makes life so much happier. So, Britt, I love you.
I'm blushing now.
I love Brit too.
Brenna, this isn't a competition.
Because if it was, I would win.
Let Mike have his moment. We were very lucky that while I was planning this proposal, you were like in the midst of like this beautiful relationship forming. That was totally not planned.
Dustin planned the whole thing.
I planned my proposal and Mike's future.
I played a scavenger hunt, and I also played God. So my second question for the both of you is, what have you learned about love over the course of your relationship through loving each other?
I can't talk without crying.
Oh.
You have to.
Now I want to hear what you have to say, B.
What I have learned about love over the course of our relationship together is that it looks different for everyone. And what I find so valuable about Dustin and I's relationship, someone else might want something different in theirs. It doesn't all fit the same shape. I've also learned that you gotta hold on tight when you find it, because it's really special, and I love you so much, Bubba.
Oh, I love you too.
Look at me.
I would say some things that I've learned about love from Brenna is that you don't necessarily need to show it to have it. Like everyone shows their affection in different ways.
Oh, that's a good one. I should have said that. That's what I meant.
Just take my answer.
Ditto.
Here, have it.
You are going to be married. You share everything.
We do share everything. I would say most people wouldn't know this, I'm the more affectionate one.
He really is.
Which is funny because I really don't show it in public.
You are more affectionate in touch. You want a hug. You always want to like snuggle. You want to hold my hand. You want to give me a hug and like when it's hot in the middle of the day. You're more affectionate physically.
Yeah.
Whereas I am more affectionate in that I'll make you dinner. I'll clean up after you. I'll make sure that you're getting enough sleep.
You make sure I'm alive is how you care about me.
I make sure you're living.
Yeah.
And I also always encourage you to do the right thing. I want everyone to see you the same way that I do, and you sometimes need an extra push in some ways, and so my love for you comes out in those pushes.
I think it has been interesting to watch how your future came together over the course of this podcast, and my life changed in such a major way over it. It was kind of convenient how the timing of everything worked out, but it was fun to watch.
Right, and it's
fun to be a part of.
It's going to be, I think, a lot of fun to listen back to this over the years.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad that you came up with the idea to have this as like a record of the moment, because it's such a beautiful thing to have that for yourselves and for your family and your friends.
And I'm so happy that you were able to come on this adventure with us.
I was so honored to be a part of it.
When I came up with the idea to do a podcast, Mike was my number one go-to person.
As Dustin put it, it wasn't even a question. He just, when he thought of podcast, you were synonymous.
I mean, there's only a few people in this world that I have such a rapport with, and that is also able to talk in complete sentences.
He has this rapport with like 20 other people, but just none of them can finish a sentence. It's crazy.
I'm in love with what we were able to create with this podcast, and I am thrilled to call you my best friend.
Brenda's crying again. I wasn't laughing at the fact.
Do you want to borrow my napkin?
No, because you made me laugh, but if you weren't laughing, I'd be crying. I, too, am lucky to call not only you my best friend, but that you have brought me another best friend in Brenna.
Will you marry us?
Yes.
Oh, Brenna, another proposal.
That'd be the real deal.
One of my favorite parts of the proposal day was when Brenna introduced me to her mom. The way that she introduced me to her mom was... She goes, Mike is our best friend and also simultaneously our son.
And I think the second thing out of my mouth was, he's also gluten-free. I felt like it was like necessary information.
It is pretty essential to my being.
So I think this is the end of the line.
This is the end of one part of the journey, but the beginning of a much bigger, more exciting journey.
One thing I want to say before we go, when I came up with this idea, I didn't know if anyone else would really find this topic to be interesting or not. I was really doing it just so Brenna could hear what was going on this whole time. I mean, we've only released episode 1, but a lot more people listened to it than I expected, so thank you for being a part of it. Brenna, any last words?
You pulled off the most amazing, spectacular, grand proposal anyone could ever dream of or wish up. I don't know how you did it. I'm excited to listen and find out.
Yes, you'll find out through the podcast.
But you blow me away. And I love you. The end.
Okay, I love you guys. And I'm Dustin.
I'm Mike.
I'm Brenna.
And this was the Project Propose podcast.
Hey, Dust, Poppy. I'm so excited, I can't believe it. I didn't sleep the whole night last night thinking about everything. I love you, and when you get a chance, give me a call. So excited. Love you.